Okay. Okay. So welcome. Welcome to the Ribs Fellowship. We are a group, we used to be just a group of women aspiring to marry, but now we've added a men's unit to it. So we are a group aspiring to marry. And then again, we started up 4 years ago. So a few of us are married, more of us are engaged. So we're finding out that it's not only for marriage, it's not only people aspiring to marry, it's also people who are already married. And we believe that God, is building phenomenal people who will build phenomenal homes. Actually, the Lord is building phenomenal women who will build phenomenal homes, because the Bible tells us that it is the woman who builds the home, even though the man is the head of the home. And of course, there was no point in speaking to the person building the house if we are not speaking to the head of the house, which is why, we're just in the process of starting a men's arm of Ribs. Today, so like I said, we meet once a week on Mondays for about an hour. And the next cohort for the women is, let me just confirm the date, is starting on the 21st of April. And the guys one is going to start on the 21st of April as well. Somebody is going to help me put in the chat the link to register. So if you are marriageable age and you are, what should I say it now? You're aspiring to marry, please, fill the link for the guys or the link for the girls, depending on which one. We just finished group 18, so we're going to be starting group 19 of the girls, and it's going to be group 1 of the guys. But we're excited. We're looking forward to it. And from time to time, we have these mini conferences. We had one a few weeks ago. I think we're going to try and have one again next week. And it's mainly the guys we have invited because we just want to hear from the guys. You know how it's not as if they're the bosses of the women, but what I'm a HR consultant, and what I always say is that if you want to know what is excellence, ask your boss. And so we just thought, okay, let's hear from the men. Today, we are talking about vicissitudes. Let me even look at what that word really means. It just came to me when I was thinking, Lord, what do we do? So let me find out so I can read out the exact meaning. I hope it means what I think it means. Yes. So it says vicissitudes, a change of circumstances or fortune, typically one that is unwelcome or unpleasant. Praise God. So, so many things happen in marriage. A lot of things we're not prepared for. We're not expecting it to happen, but it does happen. So what do we do? How do we handle it? Where do we go? I was speaking to Dr. Richard and said how a doctor was telling us once, Dr. Onuzo, he was telling us once how a lady brought her husband in for dialysis and said, okay, so how long is this going to go on for? And she was told forever. And she hissed, said a rude word, and they never saw her again, So what do we do when something happens that we're not expecting? What do we do when, life, when life, deals us a curveball? So you're all welcome. And without much ado, I'm just going to introduce Dr. Richard and give him the floor. So he's going to speak for maybe about 40 minutes or thereabouts. If you have questions, please put in the chat, or you can send directly to me if you want it to be anonymous. I know that the chat is going to be full because the chat is always really interesting, what people are saying. So please keep the conversations going. And I've told him not to focus too much on the conversations because it might distract him. So without much ado, it's 4 minutes past 9, so we don't waste anybody's time. I'm just going to read a short bio. So Dr. Richard Ajayi is a visionary healthcare leader and renowned obstetrician and gynecologist, OBGYN, with over 2 decades of medical and leadership expertise. He's the founder and driving force behind the Bridge Clinic, a leading fertility and reproductive healthcare center in West Africa. Dr. Ajayi has also demonstrated exemplary leadership in the healthcare service sector by serving on many boards across several companies, providing strategic guidance and expertise to drive growth and innovation. With his expertise in medicine and management, Dr. Ajayi continues to shape the future of healthcare in Nigeria and beyond, inspiring a new generation of healthcare leaders and entrepreneurs to adopt innovative and sustainable approaches to healthcare delivery. He is our speaker for today. And even as I pin him up, somebody said to me, what does an OBGYN know about vicissitudes? And I thought, well, we will soon find out. And somebody also said, is he a pastor? And I'm like, you see, what people don't understand is that once you're a Christian, you're a minister. Once you're a Christian, we believe that you have the wisdom of the Lord, because he always says, ask and I will give to you liberally. So I'm not going to say too much more. So Dr. Richard, over to you. I'm going to just minimize myself and yield the floor to you. Welcome.
Good evening, Lamide, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much for this opportunity to give this talk. Yes, it's a good question you asked right at the end. Is Dr. Richard a pastor? I'm not a pastor, but I'm a lay reader in my church, and I do mount the pulpit occasionally to share the word. Happens about once a month or so. So when you asked me to do this, I felt, I always see the opportunity to speak as an opportunity to explore myself and my own understanding of a subject. So I would never say no, because I have come here to learn as well. And the opportunity. So thank you very much for this initiative, and well done on the great work that you're doing and building young couples for their marriages and their future. So my approach to this talk today is really to, we can talk about the vicissitudes when they come, and I will mention some, but I think the important thing is to have a firm foundation of what a marriage is. So I'm going to spend some time talking about having a firm foundation on your marriage, and then we'll talk about the challenges, and then we'll talk about an approach to dealing with the challenges. About overall, when I looked up the data, about 10% is what is in the national statistics for divorce rates. But I think from experience, I think everybody feels that the prevalence is increasing, especially amongst the younger couples, and a lot of it is probably just not being prepared or understanding exactly what marriage is all about. And I think a talk like this gives us all an opportunity to have a shared experience and discuss. So there are many vicissitudes that could hit your marriage. It could be financial strain, economic hardship, unemployment, financial disagreement contribute to about 40% of marriage failures, insufficient resources to meet the family needs. It could be your in-laws, extended family interference, different expectations, different understanding of what marriage is. It could be a communication breakdown, just couples, not everybody knows how to talk, and some people just bottle things up and they don't share, and all of this just builds up. After a while, there's so many things under the carpet. The carpet is so high that the couple can no longer see each other because they've not really discussed on the issues. Infidelity and trust issues is also an important issue. Extramarital affairs, broken trust remain a significant factor, often exacerbated by prolonged periods of separation. Especially with the economic hardship that we have to deal with today, a lot of couples live apart. The wife is in the UK, the husband is here or the States, and it's very difficult to sustain a marriage under those circumstances. Lamide mentioned long-term illness with the person with dialysis. These are challenges you didn't plan for, and how do you deal with it if they do occur? Um, Infertility is a big one that I see. We see a lot of couples who, in Nigeria, we really believe that the purpose of marriage is to have children. And when you have a challenge and you're not achieving a pregnancy and you're not prepared to deal with this, that could be a reason for marriage breakdown. And then we also have a lot of, financial imbalance. I've talked about economic hardship. On the other hand, the woman may be earning more than the man, and the man just hasn't adjusted to this reality. So there are a lot of reasons why we could deal with challenges. And like I said, let's take some time to talk about how to build a strong foundation and what marriage is all about. And if you can get that strong foundation, then whatever storms that hit us, at least we know where we're coming from. So I will talk about building that strong foundation now. So the first point I'm going to talk about is, why do we get married in the first place? Because, there are different reasons, the cultural and social reasons. Marriage is considered a critical rite of passage in our society. It's something we don't even think about it. You go to school, you grow up, you get married. That's how we've been brought up, and that's what everybody expects. It extends the family lineage and preserves a cultural heritage. It elevates social status and respect in the community, and it establishes important family alliances between different groups. Then there are also religious and spiritual reasons. It fulfills the divine mandate for companionship and procreation. It provides a sanctified space for intimate relationships. It represents covenant relationship before God, and it creates a foundation for raising children with shared faith beliefs. So marriage provides lifelong partnership and emotional support throughout life challenges. It creates a stable environment for raising children according to cherished traditions, and it combines resources and provides safety net in the absence of government support mechanisms. And this is important more in rural communities. So, ladies and gentlemen, marriage is a covenant with God and a lifelong commitment. It is not something you walk into lightly. And I think this is important because I speak to some young people, and I've heard people say, well, let me try marriage. If it doesn't work, I will leave. And I said, no, you cannot enter marriage with that mindset. And then similarly, people discuss the concept of a prenuptial agreement before marriage. And I say, if you sign a prenuptial agreement, then you're like a private equity, you're already looking at the exit before you get in. So it is most important that we see marriage as a lifelong commitment. Because if it is not a lifelong commitment, then when vicissitudes hit, we think we have options of walking away. Because the only reason why this topic will be important is because we see marriage as a lifelong commitment. Is not something that we're going to walk away from when things become tough. So marriage is created for companionship. It's a reflection of God's love. So marriage transcends any legal arrangement. It's a sacred covenant recognized by God that demands faithfulness and love. Excuse me, please. It represents a spiritual journey designed with God's plan and reflecting his love. Embrace marriage as a covenant, cherish it as a lifelong commitment shared between spouses and God. So the biblical foundations of marriage is, like I said, is a divine covenant. It's a sacred bond designed by God. It's a spiritual union between two people. They shall become one flesh, Genesis 2:24. And most importantly, it's a growth journey. We have to learn to be married. And this comes with time. It's like anything else we do. When we have our wedding, it's all excited. We're all excited. But that is the beginning of that journey. And if, you know, I mean, I share a story of when I got married. My wife and I, we got married and we went away on honeymoon. And we got, the day we got on honeymoon, we started fighting. We just mayhem. I couldn't understand it. We got on, we'd known each other for so many years. Everything was fantastic until I took time off and I had to think. And I realized that by being married, I expected her to become like my mother. And she wasn't acting like my mother. So I was getting upset. And I had to quickly adjust myself that I'm the one with the problem. And you know, she's on her own journey, I'm on my own journey. And sometimes we go in with expectations that we have to throw away. So it's a growth journey, and it's a learning experience. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about marriage as a growth journey. You know, we're all different. We grew up in different places with different families, you know, with different ideas, went to different schools. And then to come together, we have to embrace each other's unique perspectives and experiences, because this is what creates that opportunity for mutual growth. Because if you expect to see things just the way you see it all the time, sorry, I got a bit of something in my throat, just had a drink. Yeah, if you expect to see it the way you see it all the time, then you're going to lose that opportunity. I sometimes say marriage is a journey that God puts you through to turn you into who he wants you to be. Because the experience that you're going to just sharing your life with somebody, you need to have that acceptance. And second thing to say is that love is a decision. Sometimes we think love is a feeling and it's something that you know, that is, it lights up our life. And, you know, after you've been reading Mills and Boons, sorry, but the truth is love is a decision, and it's just something, and once you make a decision to love somebody, you accept them and try and love them unconditionally. We have to also build a spiritual foundation for our marriages. The shared spiritual center, it provides strength, unity, and guidance during challenges. We have to embrace change, accepting that both partners will evolve, helps to set realistic expectations for the relationship. Each person adapts differently. We have to be patient and allow the other person to become, they may not see things the way we see it initially, but with time, you know, we have to just exercise patience. We have to learn effective communication. Expressing needs and listening attentively creates understanding and accommodation. We have to find joy. Happiness emerges from daily acts of appreciation and shared celebration. We have to be able to deal with conflicts constructively. Disagreements become growth opportunities when approached with kindness and understanding. We have to work towards common goals, fostering partnership and purpose, and we have to encourage each other through life's challenges to strengthen our bonds. So this journey, filled with both challenges and triumphs, transforms individuals while creating a resilient, fulfilling relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. I'm going to now talk a bit about what young people should look into before they get married, so that you don't rush in and out like the young person who said, I will try marriage, and if I don't like it, I will leave. Now, I don't think that's the idea of marriage. So what should you do before you get married? I think one of the first things is to marry somebody who has shared values and beliefs as you. Seek someone with compatible core values spanning religion, family traditions, as well as life perspectives. The second is emotional compatibility. Find a partner with emotional intelligence who connects with you and you can navigate challenges together. Choose someone reliable with integrity you can depend on and completely trust and honesty. Ensure your partner values your individuality, ambitions, and your perspectives. Discuss career aspirations, family planning, and lifestyle preferences to prevent future conflicts. Effective communication. Select someone who communicates openly and resolves conflicts constructively. Patience and understanding. Value a partner who supports your growth journey without rushing decisions. it is important that you have family and social compatibility. Make sure your families at least understand each other to a certain extent. Financial compatibility, align on financial habits and future plans to avoid major disagreements. Gain insight into perspectives and set realistic marriage expectations. And most importantly, don't rush. Take time to truly understand each other before making these lifelong commitments. Thoughtfully assessing these aspects helps minimize the risk of entering the marriage unprepared. Prioritize relationship health over external pressures or expectations. And I want to talk about the marriage course. There's a church in London called the Holy Trinity Brompton, and they have these life-changing courses. One of them is Alpha, which teaches you about Jesus Christ. Another course they have is a marriage course, and my wife and I we did the marriage course with some friends here in Lagos. And basically, the marriage course is a program that takes 7 weeks. You have 7 sessions, and on these 7 sessions, you spend each session on one area. So we did the marriage course here in Lagos, and the first is strengthening your connection, building a healthier relationship through improved communication and understanding your partner's needs. The second one is on the expressing feelings and understanding each other at a deeper level. The third is resolving conflict, learning to resolve conflicts, learn practical
Sorry,
tools.
can you say the second again?
The art of communication.
Sorry, can you say the second again? Because
the art
okay,
of communication. Yeah. Second is the art of communication. Second is the art of communication. Third is resolving conflict. The fourth is the power of forgiveness. The fifth is the impact of family and managing family relationships. The sixth is good sex within marriage, developing a fulfilling physical relationship that nurtures intimacy and meet both partners' needs. And the seventh is love in action, creating habits and rituals that demonstrate love, maintain connection, and build lasting relationships. So this course offers practical wisdom rooted in Christian principles, but is designed to benefit couples of all backgrounds, faiths, and relationship stages, whether thriving or struggling. So I recommend this course. We've done it, actually, we've done it more than, I think we did it 2 times. With the same, there have 4 different couples. We meet in someone's house, they cook dinner, and we go through the course. And it just helps you to remind yourself about the key important things in marriage. And I think once you have these foundation, when the storms hit, when the vicissitudes come, I think it's easier to weather the storms. But if you don't have the right foundation in terms of the choice of partner or actually learn the skills about being married, then the challenges might be a bit more difficult to navigate. Okay, so when the storms hit, you cannot, so when life storms hit, your marriage can either weaken or strengthen depending on what you're going through. So addressing the root causes of marriage breakdown. So the first one I'll talk about is infertility. I mean, this is something I see a lot. And you have a lot of couples who turn up at a fertility clinic already know they have a challenge. Sometimes you have them coming in because they believe that having a child will seal their marriage. And rather than, having a child because it's out of expression of their love, they're trying to use the child to solve the problem. And these are things we have to deal with counseling and just try and explain to people that what is most important is that they are together. And sometimes in Nigeria, a lot of men see infertility as a woman's problem. So if she's not having a baby, then perhaps I should go and try somewhere else. And interestingly, if we look at the data, especially here in Nigeria, the vast majority of couples that we've seen in fertility clinics have a significant male contribution to the problem, perhaps because they can't get somebody else pregnant, so they have to come for treatment. But the important thing is just to let couples know that you have to view infertility as a couple problem. Don't ascribe blame. It doesn't matter where the problem is. You are, as a couple, you are dealing with this, and that's the way we try and approach it. And the vast majority of people that succeed, have that kind of patience. We've had couples who've had 10, 12 cycles with the man faithfully supporting his wife through it, whatever it is they have to go through before God blesses them with a child. So that patience and understanding is very important. We also have a lot of couples. Another problem I'll talk about is just managing extended family dynamics. I'll share my own story. I mean, when we had our first child, my wife and I were living in London. We're young doctors, and my mother, said she was going to come in and help us. Now, I had not lived with my mother for many years, and there she was coming into our home to help me and my new wife with our baby. And I remember I picked her up at the airport and said, "Aren't we going home?" I said, "Let's have breakfast before we go home." And I had to explain to her that, listen, you're coming to my home, you're my mother, I have my wife. She has her ideas on how she's going to manage, and she wants to bring up the child. And we want you to support us, but please support her ideas rather than trying to impose yours. And if there's any fight, I will support her. And I had to make that very clear as a way of managing this so that there are no conflicts. And because you hear a lot of the mother turns up, you've not discussed it, she's upset that new daughter-in-law is not listening to her. I think we all have to communicate and manage everybody's expectations. The other one I'll talk about is financial resilience and challenges. It's all about communication. There are many, many couples where the woman is the breadwinner and the couples are stable and are happy. There are others that don't deal with it. And I think it's a question of the approach and what kind of foundations they build within their family, their marriage. So really, there are many things that can happen, and I think it all depends on how you build your relationship and the kind of foundations that you build. So when the storms hit, how do you navigate these challenges? I think the first is open communication. Foster honest dialogue where both partners feel heard. Schedule regular check-ins. Therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to each other. Ephesians 4:26. You have to stay united. You are married, and this is a challenge that you're both dealing with. So confront problems together, not each other, and make decisions jointly. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Ecclesiastes 4:12. Support each other. Reach out as to friends, reach out to families, counselors, or support groups wherever they're needed. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6:2. Practice empathy. Understand each other's perspectives to build deeper emotional connections. Rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. Romans 12:15. Set boundaries. Establish clear limits to protect your relationship during vulnerable times. There is a time for everything and a season for activity. Ecclesiastes 3:1. Maintain your mental and physical health to support each other. Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. Mark 6:31. We have to stay flexible, adapt strategies as situations evolve, and consider multiple approaches. We have to celebrate your small wins. Acknowledge achievements to boost morale and commitment. Give thanks to God for his good, his love endures forever. Psalm 107, verse 1. Maintain joy and humor. Use shared laughter to relieve stress and maintain your connection. A cheerful heart is good medicine. Proverbs 17:22. Reaffirm your commitment to each other regularly. Revisit vows and strengthen your shared sense of purpose. Where you will go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Ruth 1:6. And ladies and gentlemen, pray together. Develop a joint prayer habit every morning. Pray together every evening. Pray together. Bring your concerns before God through shared practices. For where there are two or three and gather in my name, there am I with them. Matthew 18:20. By applying these biblical principles, couples can emerge from crisis stronger and more connected and with a deeper faith. So, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, marriage is not just a social contract, but it's a sacred covenant with God. It's deeply rooted in the decision to love and grow together. As couples embark on this profound journey, it is essential to remember that it's the foundations you build before the vows that will support you when the storms of life inevitably arise. By choosing a partner with whom you have shared values, shared goals, and you have unwavering respect, then you lay the foundations for a resilient marriage. So whenever the storms hit, you are solidly planted, and it's very difficult to become uprooted. So love is indeed a conscious decision made every day, and it is a decision that fuels your commitment to nurture and sustain your relationship. When challenges come, as they will, draw upon the strength of your covenant, the mutual understanding you've cultivated, and the shared faith that guides your union. Together with a strong foundation and shared purpose, you are not merely surviving the storms, you are growing through them, emerging stronger and more united. Remember, each challenge is an opportunity to reaffirm your commitment to each other and to the divine promise that binds you. May your journey be one of continuous growth, joy, and unyielding love. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to take some questions now.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very, very much. We've put so many things together, and I loved the way you just brought out all the advice is actually from the Bible. I always say to people that the truth is, the Bible is filled with truth. It doesn't matter what it is you are talking about. Now, I have a few questions. I see some hands up, and I don't know whether Ngozi wants to start, but there was a question here to start off with. That was actually really good. Thank you very much. You did well. Now, the first question from somebody says, what do you do when one partner is not willing to engage in working out a solution? You said something that the foundation has to be right. Okay, so I didn't know all these things about marriage before I entered marriage. Do you understand? So I'm now in it, and a vicissitude has hit, okay? And I am just, it could be the man or the woman that, okay, I'm ready to work at this thing, okay? Because what I hear you say is that even when you start out with the right foundation, vicissitudes may come, okay? So now it has come, and I'm ready to work at it. But the other guy, or the other person, I'm not saying he's a guy, but the other person is not interested. What do you do?
Like they say, you can't do anything about your partner's attitude, but you can change your own attitude to the way that you see them. Because the truth is, if your partner doesn't see things the way you see, they're not ready to, then that's where love and patience comes in. Because if you try and force the issue, then you're going to force the issue. So this is where you need to learn patience, perseverance, long suffering, and exercise the fruits of the spirit. Because at the end of the day, you can't change someone, but you can change your own attitude to them. I think that's the way I think you have to deal with that, and hope that a time comes when their eyes open and they start to change and modify their own behavior. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you that, there's somebody who said for many years, and I found it in my marriage, I'd say, Lord, change him. And the Lord would be like, well, I'd like to change you first, and then you find that it's not that you then become like them. It's just that you then begin to understand where they are coming from. And then you might be able to then help them understand what it is you're trying to do. Fantastic. Let me take the people who have their hands up. Ngozi, you had your hand up, and she had made a funny comment when you said don't rush. It was like,
yeah, yes.
What happened?
Yeah, yes, doctor. You said don't rush, and time is not on your side. And you said don't rush. Don't you think that? I mean, for young people, that's okay. But for old people like us, we may have just depend on thus said the Lord. This is your husband, and then walk a walk of faith, and that's I'm just yeah. But my main question, actually, you have answered it in answering Olamide's question, because I wanted to ask you, what about, this is prescriptive for people who are going into marriage. What about those of us who have gone in without this advice and then we are where we are? But like you said, patience and tolerance. So you have answered it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think just to answer the question of don't rush, I think don't rush. If the Holy Spirit is telling you this is your husband, then follow that leading. But the point is, a lot of people go in without that leading. They just want to get married, and so they run into it. And so the advice is really get to know the person you're marrying. That's really the point that is being made there. And then on the other point of with the person who doesn't change, I mean, by you loving them and you just being patient, you may be surprised how that will change them because you're teaching them by example. So I think it's a journey, and it's a journey that you just have to walk together. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah. I love the fact that, thank you. I love the fact that you say it's a journey, because people just think that the marriage, the wedding day is the destination, but it's a journey. Somebody here had put that besides visiting fertility clinics, what is the top things couple facing infertility should do together? Did you hear me?
Sorry, can you say that again? It wasn't very clear.
Okay, she says that besides visiting fertility clinics, what are the other top things that couples facing infertility should be doing together?
Well, I mean, the most, I mean, what is infertility is defined as the inability to conceive after 1 year of regular protected intercourse, unprotected intercourse, sorry. So if after 1 year you're not pregnant, then it's important to at least do some tests to find out what the problem might be. And we're very proactive in the management of infertility because there's an age-related decline, especially in female fertility. So as a woman gets older, it becomes harder to get pregnant. So it's important to start early. I mean, I think it's important to at least, even if you don't want to go straight for treatment, at least know what the problem is. So after about a year, I think you should at least get tested to find out if there's if there's a problem. If there's a problem, you may choose not to do anything about it because you believe you have time, and you want to keep trying to achieve a pregnancy by yourself. But if after 3 years you've not achieved a pregnancy, then I think you need to get some treatment. But then, rushing to treatment is also not the solution. It's important to get counseling and be together because infertility can put a lot of stress, the challenge on a relationship. And I mentioned earlier, some people come in, the relationship is so fractured that they think having a child is the solution. And they're so stressed, they don't get pregnant. So it's important to be in a good place to be able to embark on the journey of fertility treatment. So that emotional healing is very, very important. Thank you.
Have fun in some cases, even though, it's like what they say, that a watched pot never boils.
Absolutely.
So if you're not having the fun, then, but there's a prayer that they used to, I don't know if they still pray it, but I remember when I was getting married, you know, they used to pray the Yoruba prayer that "Ẹ̀yin ìyàwó ni many," meaning that she won't be on her back all the time trying to conceive. And I didn't understand that until, you know, now that we've seen people who had the challenges of infertility. I've heard stories, you know, but thank God there are solutions. And one thing you had said to me, I remember very many years ago when we had this conversation, and I think because it was so new then, people didn't really want to try fertility clinics. It was like, oh, God is going to do mine. And you said something that I think I'll share here. You said, even in the fertility clinic, it is still God doing it. It's not any man who is, you know, who is making you pregnant. It is still God who is going to make you pregnant. And I thought that that was really, you know, that was really insightful. We have a few more questions here, but Emisi, you have your hand up. So let's take that hand.
Is my signal okay? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So the Bible talks about wise counsel. And I just want to know, when you're going into marriage, how do you know, like, how do you build that like muscle of discernment to know who to go to speak to if you have a problem? I know obviously like the first person to speak to is your spouse, but if you really feel like you need to speak to somebody else, how do you kind of figure out?
It's a good idea. Yeah, yeah.
But how do you then figure out, actually, you know, I need to speak to somebody else, but I need to know the right person to speak to who is going to, you know, give me the right advice. I won't just say, oh, do this, do that, or even say something crazy like, well, just leave him or do whatever. Like, how do you actually know that, okay, this is the person that I need to speak to? Yes. Thank you. Also, thank you so much, Auntie, for doing this. It was lovely. And thank you, Uncle, for your talk has been lovely.
No, thank you very much. I think, thanks for that question. I think the general teaching is you need to be careful who you speak to, because your marriage is unique to you and your partner, and the perspectives are always different from somebody else. So it is very, very difficult for me to say, you know, this is the kind of person, but you also need to follow the leading of the Holy Spirit and just try and have some discernment with who you're talking to, because your particular challenges are your particular challenges, and someone else coming from an outside perspective may not really be able to advise you properly. So one of the advice that is certainly given is don't discuss your problems with anybody, and try and deal with it with your husband. Engage in communication, engage in prayer, and just try and gain that understanding together as a way to move you forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
What I would also say to that is sometimes you really have to speak to somebody, and it's difficult to say, I'm not going to, I'm just going to speak to my husband, who you've spoken to and doesn't seem to understand where you're coming from. Because I know some women who get very depressed because they have nobody to talk to, right? But some rule of thumb that I would say is, you're not just going to go and meet a complete stranger. Who are the people in your life you have always spoken to? You know, what are the values of the people in your life? As you've grown up, what are your mentors doing? One thing my mother always used to say is, don't come and tell us your problem in your marriage, because when you and your husband have sorted it out, we're giving him bad looks, you know. So maybe the first thing is, don't rush off to your mom or your dad to say, oh, this is what happened, because they are going to want his guts for garters. However, it's good to develop over the years who you can confide in, because it's more confidential. So who can you confide in? You're not just going to wake up one day and go and meet a total stranger that you don't know, you know? But yes, as best as you can, don't discuss it. But if you have to, then, you know, like Dr. Richard said, be led by the Holy Spirit and be prayerful. Okay, so there are a few more questions here. Yeah. Somebody says, what would you do if your partner won't communicate? And, you know, a lot of women complain about this, that their husbands are just not speaking. he says that every discussion ends in an argument. What do you do when your partner refuses to be intimate with you? Okay, so let's take that communicate. Oh, let me read everything. He won't communicate. Everything ends up in an argument. He refuses to be intimate with you. How long is one supposed to be patient? You know, she puts here that she's been married. Well, she puts here that, oh, wow. She puts here that, you know, they haven't been intimate many times in the very many years of their marriage. So over to you. I'm glad you're here to answer this question.
I think communication is actually something that we don't spend a lot of time discussing. And they say communication is the art of being understood. That is, you that has something to say needs to make sure that you convey it to get the other person to understand it. So you as a communicator, you need to have communication skills. That's the whole idea of understanding who your partner is, understanding what their love language is, and just finding a way to get across to them. Because you know sometimes and it's a mutual thing, and sometimes if you're just not getting across, you start to have a real bridge being built between the two, you know, a big birth between the two of you. So I think it's a very difficult situation that you're describing, you know, when your husband will not communicate. And I think this, when it gets to this stage, is probably the time when you probably need to start talking about maybe having some support in terms of counseling or someone who can help you navigate these challenges, because it's very difficult for you to be the one dealing with this. But then, you know, you also have to be able to get your husband to understand that there's a need for help, and we get him to be willing to go for counseling. But I'm sorry you're going through this. It sounds very difficult challenge. But you know, maybe you know, if it's been going on for such a long time, then you might need some professional support to take you through this.
And to add to that, I would just also want to say that maybe he's not communicating verbally, but maybe you start to learn some other ways that he communicates to sort of, you know, learn a bit more. That may be another way, because sometimes, you know, you can read some people even though they're not actually speaking. Okay, like Dr. Richard said, you know, really sorry that this is the situation. Okay, so the other part of it was, okay, what if the husband refuses to be intimate? What happens? What do you do? How long would you be patient for?
Well, I think they're both coming from the same area. I mean, if you're not communicating verbally, then it's very difficult to be intimate. So there are challenges that you as a couple need to work through, because sometimes, you know, when these things, these little seeds of discontent are sown, and if we don't take them away, they grow into these big weeds of absolute that can rip the relationship apart. So I think it's about, you know, like the Bible tells us, don't let the sun set on your wrath, because it's absolutely critical that little fights are made up. You know, you have a situation where you have a fight, the husband or the wife wants to go and sleep in a separate room. Even if you are fighting, enter the same bed together. You know, and just, you know, because you have to not let the fight become pregnant. You don't have to, because once it does, it just begats more nonsense, and the situation gets out of hand. So I think that might be where you are, between you and your husband, and it's important to, you know, maybe even just sit down and have a conversation. That, listen, maybe this begat this, and this begat this, and this begat that, but can we go back to the beginning? Because if you keep holding on to this, it's not going to go away. And the truth about it is, you need to just be prayerful about it and try and engage directly, so that it doesn't really, you know, get so bad. Thank you.
I love that word. It doesn't get pregnant and then delivers all kinds of things.
Yes.
It can be really difficult sometimes. Yeah, it can be really difficult sometimes when you don't know what is in the person's head, you know. But you know, again, sometimes some people are on a certain spectrum that has gone undiagnosed. That's another thing, because I heard of a lady who was reading a magazine, and she saw it was like they were describing her husband, and they called it a certain name. And she said, "Oh my goodness," you know, she was divorced at the time, and she said, "This is exactly my husband, but he's gone undiagnosed." So that you know, not this may be sort of a bit far-fetched, but it's also a possibility, you know,
It is.
that this, yes, this person has gone undiagnosed for one thing or the other. And you know, if somebody could crack it, then that would bring a lot of solution. So like you said, prayer is also key, you know, to just say, Lord, what am I doing? What should I be doing? What, I mean, I was praying with a friend of mine yesterday, and it was, you know, I love to pray, but I loved the way she even said it, that to ask God, what should be my heart posture? What should I be praying about? I see the problem, but what the problem I see is not actually the problem. So, Lord, teach me what my heart posture should be, and what should I actually be praying. You know, that is a way to. You were going to say
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, yes, you see, I mean, this, you know, the way I've come to see the Bible, I said I've come to see the Bible not as a book on philosophy, but as a book of rules. It's a book of the law of the kingdom. And the prescriptions are very clear to us. I mean, Jesus Christ said, if they slap you on one cheek, turn the other cheek. If they ask you to walk 1 mile, walk 10. If they ask you to give them your coat, give them your tunic also. And so the whole concept there is about patience, long suffering, acceptance, and not wanting to really rock the boat. Just be prayerful in patience as you walk through these challenges and vicissitudes as they hit you, because
Yeah.
fighting, reacting makes it worse. And so and the key is, how do we maintain that prayerful stance to be very patient in dealing with whatever challenges we're going through. And that's really, for me, it's the kernel behind all of this. And if we're prayerful and we learn to develop that patience, then we can weather that storm. Thank you very much.
Mm. Yeah. Somebody here has given a scenario, and says, you know, there have been problems in the marriage. There was a bit of deception. I don't know whether it was both parties or just one party, but you know, the husband has moved out. His family are supporting him, and the wife wants audience, but he's not being given audience. What are the next steps?
Well, it's very difficult to answer that question, because it depends on what the challenges are and the reasons why the husband is taking such a stance. Um, um, I mean, you know, the husband is taking a stance, the family is supporting the husband. It's very difficult. Maybe she needs to get her family to approach his family and try and at least gain an understanding of what the problem might be, to know exactly how to move forward. But it looks like, you know, a certain line has been drawn, and so yeah, getting her family involved may be the way forward, to gain some traction there. Thank you.
Okay, so somebody has asked that, okay, the spouses are patient with each other, but what if their being patient with each other is affecting the children, right? The question is, if you choose to be patient with your partner, but the issues are harming the children, how do you know when enough is enough?
That's a very interesting question,
Yeah.
because you know, you have certain relationships where maybe the mother is a bit aggressive, and the father is spending his time accommodating her, and the children feel that he maybe needs to be a bit firmer with her, uh, rather than, and so they complain has a bigger job to do because he has to manage his wife, he now has to manage his children as well. Because at the end of the day, you're still in a relationship, you're a family, and everybody's dealing with the same challenges. And the key point is while you're being patient with your partner, you need to be discerning about the needs of your children as well and try and explain to them as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, the children are going to leave home and it's still going to be you and your partner. So it's important to manage it, manage everybody, because what is important is moving forward together. And as I said right at the beginning, I think we can only have a conversation like this if we all believe marriage is lifelong. And we're going to stick it through, we're going to manage it because we're not all perfect. We're all work in progress. And I think the key thing is let's live together while we continue to shape ourselves into who God wants us to be. Thank you.
Yeah, and I heard somebody once say, and I guess that, look, your parents' marriage is your parents' marriage, okay? Like you have said, everybody needs to be discerning. The parents need to be discerning to know how to help the children through whatever is going on. You know, hiding it may not be the best way. When I say hiding it, I'm not saying, you know, be coming to blows in front of the children, but, you know, let maybe people should know, look, there is a situation, but we are working at it. But the parents' marriage is the parents' marriage, you know, and it's really not the children's marriage. So the best thing the parents can do is to help the children through it all and to let them understand that, look, we are being patient. And as things get better, to say things are getting better, you know, just so that they are not scarred for life. But the earlier that it is noticed, I think that there is that the children are feeling somehow, just exactly as you said, then it has to, the children have to be addressed, you know, but then the children also have to know that this is your parents' marriage.
Yes, yes. And because the children don't have they don't have the maturity, they're short-tempered, they want quick fixes. So they can't drive the agenda, but it's important to accommodate their own emotions and make sure that it's managed as well. But
yeah. But you know, one of the things we're saying is we're not condoning abuse, you know, emotional
never,
or physical. You know, that's
never.
not what we're condoning. And if that is happening, then there needs to be separation, you know, until things, you know, can either get better and they get back together or they go their separate ways. Because we've heard of people who've been killed in their homes by, you know, spouses. So that's not what we're looking at.
No,
And I was reading the story of a lady who was talking about the fact that she actually stayed and was patient until she saw her son behaving like her husband, beating up everybody and everything, and her daughter a wreck. And so she thought, look, I've got to leave, even if not for me, but for these children. So there are extremes where honestly we don't say, oh, be patient, you know, not because you can be separated and be patient, but we don't want to have any deaths. I think you have answered this question. The person said, for the ones already pregnant, as in where the marriage is already pregnant with all kinds of things, how do we abort the pregnancy and restore peace in the home? I love the analogy, but I think you've said, you know, that patience, prayer, understanding, you know, communication, you know, just keep communicating. Somebody has said here, yeah, okay, sorry.
No, I'm just going to say, and manage your own emotions, because manage your own reaction to your husband or your wife. I think that's what you have agency over. You don't have agency on their behavior, only your reaction to them.
Yes. Somebody says, what is the role of forgiveness in marriage, in these issues?
Oh, you know, as I said in the marriage course, there's a whole week on forgiveness in the HTB marriage course. You can't underestimate the importance of forgiveness. You have to let go. You have to forgive. Whatever happens, you have to learn and pray that you have that spirit of forgiveness, because you know, if you don't, then the situation can just like get exacerbated. So you can't underestimate the importance of that. You have to pray for the spirit of forgiveness, be able to forgive and actually forget, you know, not forgive and let it continue to ruminate in front of you, but actually
Dexter.
forgive. Yeah. Because accept that your partner is not perfect. None of us is perfect. Like Christ said, "He who is without sin, let them cast the first stone." I mean, we are all imperfect beings, and we will get things wrong. We will do the wrong things, and so we have to learn to forgive and move forward.
Yeah. And what we always say also is that unforgiveness is like you drinking poison and expecting the other person to
The
fall
person
down
to
dead.
that.
But you are there in prison with that poison, you know, so it's best to let it go. And, you know, a very important passage that everybody needs to read and read over and over again is 1 Corinthians 13 that talks about love, you know, because in there it actually says forget, because it says love does not remember wrong done to it, you know, and it says love does not stand on its own, you know, cognizance that you've got to do this for me. Love is not entitled, you know, love is not entitled. I have another question here. It says, what are your thoughts on having a patient, kind partner, heart love, but you clash in terms of ambition, different socio-economic family backgrounds and values, and disagree in terms of husband-wife roles and responsibilities, head problems? You know, so one is a heart issue, the other is a head issue. You know, can that even work? Curious to know.
I always have this joke. You know, I say marriage is two people in different ends coming together. The best is that you all come together in the middle, but sometimes coming together is one person not moving and the other person meeting them just there. This is where you pray for patience, understanding, because the truth is, it's like I said earlier, it's very difficult to do something about someone's mindset. If they don't see things the way you see it, it's very difficult. I mean, so the challenges you describe in terms of ambition, you know, I sometimes talk to, when I sort of speak to young girls who are married and telling me about the challenges with their husband. I say you have to learn to train your husband. You know, part of it is actually, and it's a skill, because you can't let him know you're training him. You know, but you have to mold him into who you need him to be. And that is a skill you need to pray for and have that, get the guidance to be able to achieve it. But you have to train your husband, because sometimes husbands come into a marriage with certain expectations, which may not be realistic, but that's real to them. Like I shared my own story about when I got married and my own realistic expectations. But I think, you know, I was able to shake it out of myself, but sometimes they don't. And how do you achieve that? I think we just need to be prayerful, and we need to be flexible. And don't forget, like I said, sometimes the husband meets you, most of the time somebody's doing all the moving while the other one is staying there. And maybe they will start to move a bit towards you with time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So now, if these people are not yet married, because you're talking like they're married, what if they're not yet married? Is this all enough to say, look, guy, see you later?
Well, I think so, because you're so aware of this, right at this stage is important to you. So don't take that risk. If it's important to you and you've identified it, I mean, if you think is work in progress, and
You've
and he
seen
can
progress.
change, and you see progress, then fine, you may move in faith. But I think, you know, it's like I said, going back to the beginning, you have to be careful before you get married. And if you marry the right person, then you can weather the vicissitudes when they hit. But if you're not, and you already have all these challenges of you're not sure the ambition and vicissitudes hit, it's very difficult to navigate the challenges. So I think if you're very clear that this is the case, it's a decision you have to make.
But you already know, so
you may be able to live with it, in which case, go ahead. But if you don't think you can, and you think it's a deal breaker, then you should be clear with yourself.
Well, sorry. Okay, so somebody else has said, can you advise in a few words on what goes on with men who are work in progress? What to avoid? Is this the woman, what the woman is to avoid, or what the man is to avoid? Can you give me a bit more context, please? Somebody sent a message. The woman, okay. So they're saying the woman, if you're, seeing somebody who is work in progress. Dr. Ajayi, are you frozen? Can you hear me? Okay, you can, you're back. Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes. So I missed, what was the question?
So the question is, can you advise in a few words, if the man is work in progress, what is the woman to advise? What is the woman to avoid? So you see a man who maybe you're training him, you're not yet married, you're training him and he's sort of, work in progress. What are you supposed to avoid as a woman?
Well, work in progress is a good thing, isn't it? That means he's responding to whatever it is you're doing, and he's moving forward in the right direction. So I don't think the way it sounds to me, it's a good thing, but it becomes a challenge when he's not being molded, and you're trying to move him forward to see things in your way, and he's not. Then that's a different situation. But if he's work in progress, he's not quite where you want him to be, but he's on that journey, then I think it doesn't sound as a negative thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, it's a difficult question to understand fully, but that's just the context that I have.
Yes. Wow. Well, we've had, we've had a good discussion, I think. Obviously, we can't ever finish talking about it. I think the real, I mean, there are a lot of nuggets, and I think it's even a video that, people have to watch again to really get it all. I loved the foundation bit. Let me listen to the foundation bit to be sure that I'm getting married for the right reasons. Because if the foundation is faulty, there's nothing, the house is going to sink. The house is going to sink. So, there's nothing anybody can do about that. I must be getting married for the right reasons, not just for the day. I don't even think anybody really gets married for the day, but maybe some people do, or some people marry just so that they can be married, in terms of, they say that in Nigeria, the drivers even don't respect you if you are not married, So people marry because of respect, because of family pressure. Yeah, you were going to say something? Hello?
Okay. I can call Faith.
Sorry, can you mute if you're not speaking?
Funny,
Let me try. Let me try and mute. I think Dr. Ajayi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yes, you can hear me now. Yes. You were going to say something.
No, I was just going
Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of pressure on young women to get married, and sometimes they rush into marriage.
Maybe I should just continue.
No,
sorry, can you say that again? You didn't hear that. Can you say that again?
No, I was just saying that there's a lot of pressure on young couples in Nigeria, especially the women, to get married. And sometimes they don't do their due diligence as well as they should. And I think if anybody's going to take anything from today, I think the key point is, before you get married, just be sure you're marrying the person. Don't just marry someone because you think they're suitable, you think they have financial resources. Are they your friend?
They're nice.
Yeah, they're nice. Can you walk this life's journey with them? Because it's a commitment. It's a commitment, and it's something that you have to build that strong foundation. If the foundations are strong, when the storms come, you can weather them. If the foundations are not strong, like the lady you shared whose husband had needed dialysis and she walked away. I mean,
Yeah.
there was no love, there's no affection, there's no commitment.
Yeah.
She obviously went to that marriage because she was getting something powerful
Yes.
material out of it. And
Yes.
these are things that people need to become aware of, that's not enough to sustain a marriage. Your good looks, no matter how beautiful you are, is not enough to sustain a marriage. It's your heart that sustains the marriage. And I think these are key things that women and men need to understand. Thank you.
I mean, there are many things that can go wrong. There can be illness. And when I say illness, the other person is just there and you're having to look after them from you've been married 5 years and this is, 20 years later and they're still like that. There's nothing you can do. Um, it could be so many things. It could be that they had money when they got married and then something happened, they lost all the money and 20 years later, they're still broke and you're having to carry to carry them. I know people who've lost children, who their children died, and that brought a huge strain on the marriage. I've known of people who just so many things you can't even imagine. So if you marry for the wrong reasons, it's going to be so difficult to weather. We mustn't marry for marriage's sake. Please, I beg you. I'm always telling the ribs ladies, it is better for you to. I even know somebody who was pregnant and her parents said, don't marry this guy, bring the baby, we'll look after the baby, because marriage is something that is so important and it is so not easy that you cannot do it on a song and a prayer, honestly. And when I mean a song and a prayer is, just hoping it'll go well. No.
Yeah.
It's work. Marriage is work. And if you're not ready to put in the work, stay single.
Don't start.
The worst people can do is to say, oh, she's not married. Okay, everybody will get over it. But I heard Joyce Meyer say once, she says that you think you are lonely and single, marry the wrong person, then you will know what real loneliness is. And none of us wants to do that. Somebody has asked a question here, but I think you had answered it. That says that if the person seems to be, he seems to be making progress. He fears God, right? But he's advancing God's kingdom, but he's struggling financially, and the woman is financially comfortable. They're not yet married. She says that, is it okay to lend him money? If he asks for money, is it okay to lend him money at that point or what?
Well, I think I don't see why you can't. I mean, if it's somebody you're in a relationship with and you're more financially able, if you're sure of his motives, you're sure of who he is and what he's doing, then I don't see any reason why not. It's when you're unsure of who he is, and you have doubts, then of course you shouldn't. But that's where getting to know your partner becomes very important, because if you know him and you trust him, I don't see there's a problem there. And it's and I think the conversation is not just about before you get married, it's also how you marry. I mean, here in Nigeria, I remember when I got married, I came back home. I had my relatives coming to give me advice about how to be married and saying things like, you must go out every night. Where even if you don't have somewhere to go, just go out so that your wife is used to the fact that you are going out.
Oh, you should just go out. I even thought it was the two
No,
of you.
no, I should just go out. That was the advice. I mean, if you have any issues, anything, don't talk to your wife about it. Don't talk to your wife about it. What else is it? Oh, anything you own, don't let her know. What you have, hide it from her. Now, that is the biggest recipe to destroy your marriage. And that's the general kind of advice that people receive. But I think we all need to be discerning and know where advice is coming from, and just practice the right things to keep your marriage. And so well, I didn't follow any of their advice. And I'm happy.
Thank God.
32 years later, I'm still very happily married to my wife.
Hallelujah. What I always say to the Ribs ladies, and I'll just say it here, that if he hasn't proposed, I don't want to see you cooking jollof rice for him. I don't want to see you picking up his dry cleaning or going to clean his apartment, right? He must have made a commitment. He can't just be a friend. If he's shown interest in you but has not popped that question, it doesn't have to be with a ring, but that you know that, okay, we're heading to marriage. I don't want to see you doing all of those things, because there are a lot of charlatans out there who will have you running around in circles and they have nowhere they're going. You know, there's a lot of deception out there. That's all my own. Don't ever be desperate. Don't ever settle. That's all I have to say. Okay? So no, it's true, because there are men who are, eating jollof rice here, fried rice there, doing this, doing that, and they have no intentions of doing anything, So like you keep saying, discernment is very, very, very important. Well, thank you so much. This has been an enlightening evening, and it's recorded, so I'm going to be sending out the recording so that more people can listen to it. It's really been great nuggets, Somebody says that, what if you're already on the way and the person is showing good progress and then turns around? Well, I guess the somebody said help him pick up the loan from his bank.
I just read that too.
I think I like that.
Fair enough.
Why must it be you? I know that I loaned my husband before we married, but what did I know? I didn't know anything. So I thought, oh, he needs money. Let me help him. I'm not sure I would do that today, but that's because, I hope I've not become cynical and I'm not passing that on to the young ladies. But thank you so much. There's been a lot that you've spoken about today. There's been a lot that you've done today. And we can only say God bless you, because I know that you took time to prepare and you've taken time to sit, with us, and people are going to be listening. So you knew that you couldn't just come and say anything. Anyway, we had prayed that you would be speaking as an oracle of God. And my prayer is that even as you move forward and journey on your life, that you will always speak as the oracle of God. He will always use you to transform lives. He's already been doing that, and he will continue to use you to transform lives. And that, you'll be one of those people that people want to talk to when they have issues. They'll be like, oh, let's speak to Dr. Richard. He might give us, he's most likely to give us really good advice. Thank you so much. God bless you. And for everybody else, there's still, sorry, who do not post their husband's photo? They post only on his birthdays. How about that? Somebody says there are people who are married who don't post their husband's pictures. Their husband may not want his picture posted, and they have to respect his own wishes. Do whatever it is both of you have decided is what you want to do in your marriage. Thank you so much, everybody who's coming to listen. We have the links in there if you want to join the Ribs women for the group 19, and if you're a guy and you want to join the Ribs men, please feel free to click the link and put your name down and register. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been really good. The recording is going to be ready tomorrow, and I'm going to send it out. So please forward to people who I don't have their contact details. God bless us all. And so let me just say a prayer. So Father God, we just thank you for this evening. Who is like unto you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises. You are always doing wonders. Thank you for the wonders you've done here today. Even if this was for one person who is on this platform, or one person who's going to be listening later, we know that it has been worth it. Thank you for taking the stage. And we said your name alone has been glorified, and we are definitely satisfied. God bless you, all of you who have come. Thank you, Lord, for today. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen and amen. Shalom, shalom. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good night.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Amen. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm just reading all the comments. Amen and amen. Amen. Shalom, ladies. And we can continue to discuss, but I will send out the recording for sure.